Good evening, guys. So let's start at 8:10, okay? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we can hear.
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Prakash, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Prakash, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Is it my voice is clear or not?
Yeah, clear,
Because
clear.
I'm actually logging with the hotspot. We
Yes,
don't
sir,
have
clear.
power here.
Yeah.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, yes, sir. It's clear.
All right, okay. So let's start at 8:10, okay?
Okay.
So let me fix this internet connection and I will join back.
Okay.
8:10.
Okay.
Right. So good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Right. I hope you received your assignment marks, right? All of you received your assignment marks?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. So as average, I think most of you are having a good assignment marks, right? So what you have to do is you need to perform well in the exam, right? So before going to the kind of a revision, so actually the purpose of the revision is to provide the information, what kind of questions, what kind of areas I'm looking at in the examination, right? For your as a help for your examination, right? So basically, today I'm going to discuss few questions, the past paper questions, right? And give some idea how you are going to approach a question and how you are going to answer a question if such kind of question is asked in your examination, right? So that is the main intention of this program. Uh, so basically, when it's come to your subject, I told you in the class, right, that I have done some adjustment to your paper. I already prepared the paper and sent it to the print now, right? Already it has been moderated, and now the final paper has been sent it to the printing, right? So when it's come to your paper, so I told you you are having 6 questions. Yes, you are having 6 questions in that paper, but there is a small adjustment I have done in favor of you, right? There will be only 4 questions to be answered, right? So that means you can ignore 2 questions, right? I think you are happy, right? So you have to answer 4 questions. 1 question you are receiving 25 marks, right? So there will be a 6 question in your paper, right? Answer you are also 4 questions, right? So 1 question you are receiving a 25 marks. And each question you are having a different case studies, right? So, and also when it comes to questions, 3 questions are coming from the corporate governance, 1 question is coming from the ethics, and 2 questions are coming from the what do you call the risk management, right? And also I have told you that I'm not going to include the what do you call the strategic risk in the paper, but I have included 1 question in the strategic in the question as from the strategic risk. So that is kind of a common question that you all can write, right? So what you have to do is you need to think about the strategic about the company in the strategic way, in the helicopter view, right? So that question I have included, so that I want to tell you, right? That is only 1 question. That's a kind of a practical question that you can write, right? So that is the composition of your the content of your paper, right? What you are getting in, I think 31st, right? So I hope you have done your homework, right? Now you are ready for the examination, right? So I'm going with the past papers first. Um, the same type of format I have used when I'm preparing the paper for this time as well, right? So there's no adjustment. So if you're looking at the past paper, except the paper I have prepared for the repeat students, don't look at that paper. That is having a different approach because it's addressing the repeat students, right? So other than that, if you take last 4 or 5 papers, the same format we are following, right? Right. Can you see my screen? I have already shared the 2 papers with you, right? I told your batch coordinators, Sharoni and the Prakash Susha, I think they have shared the documents with you, right? So these are the 2 papers, the recent 2 papers, except the May paper. I have not taken the May paper. Except the May paper, I will take the August 2024 and the 2025 January paper. Right, and between that there will be another paper for the repair student, and also the last paper, the May paper is also there, right? I have not taken that paper because it's a latest one. So definitely I'm not going to take question from that past paper, but you have to do that past paper as well, right? Right. So when it comes to this paper, as I mentioned before, number of questions will be 6, and you need to answer any 4 questions, right? So time allocation will be 3 hours. So total mark you are receiving 100 marks, right? So you have now earned 50 marks for your assignments, right? From this paper, you need to earn another 50 marks. But make sure, right, there will be some concerns in last year as well. If you are not past this subject, right, that means the minimum marks to pass the subject means 40 marks, right? So out of 100, definitely you need to get the 40 marks to pass this subject for the paper. Paper එකට ලකුණු 40 ගන්න ඕනේ. නැත්නම් ඔයාලට assignment marks ලකුණු 40 තිබ්බත් ඔයා පාස් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. හරි හිතන්නකෝ assignment marks වලට 50න් 40ක් තියෙනවා කියන්නේ. හැබැයි paper එකට තියෙන්නේ ඔයාලට 50න් 30යි නේද? Right? So as a policy of I think SAP campus, so they will only take the paper marks. Right? So then you will fail the exam. So therefore you need to make sure that definitely you need to write to the exam paper in an appropriate way to get that 40 marks. At least that 40 marks. I'm not saying to get 40 marks. You have to get 100 marks out of 100. But at least write the answers to get that 40 marks. Right. And the common mistakes you have done in the examination is, right, while I'm actually reviewing your papers and marking your papers, right? So the common mistake you have done is you have not understood the question correctly, and you have write the answers. You have not write the answers in enough way. Like when it's come to let's say I'm asking a question to discuss about something, right? You are only writing 1 or 2 lines, right, for 15 marks, right? So therefore, make sure that when you are writing, right, you need to write adequate enough. So I'm not saying to write the essays, right? So when you are writing, you need to write point form, right? Better to go with the point form if possible, right? And if possible, you can use charts, right? Like if I'm asking about the risk and the risk responses, you can write. So in the part A, I'm asking the risk. In the part B, I'm asking risk responses. Right. In the part A, I'm asking risk. In the part B, I'm asking risk response. So what you can do is you can have a chart. So in the chart, the first column is answer for the A part, risk. And the part B is in the second column, risk response. So this it will save your time as well. Right. So those kind of strategies you can follow to save the time. Right. The one big issue in this paper is when you're doing this paper, when you're writing, because this is a kind of a theoretical subject, so you have to write. Right? If you are not writing, you don't get marks. So you have to spend all 3 hours and write the paper. So let's say you are done with 2 hours. Sometimes there will be a kind of a concern that you will be fail this exam, fail this subject. So definitely you have to spend the 3 hours and write answers for this paper. Right? So you have to write. Right? So when you are writing, you need some kind of a time. So you need to manage your time. The next big concern is you don't have the enough time to write all the 4 questions, right? Because you are spending so much of time in a one question. So therefore, remember when you are answering to these 4 questions, for one question, you are only having how much of time? Only 30 minutes. Only 30 minutes means for one question, you are only having 20 minutes. Why? Because you have to read this question and understand this question. And also you have to select the 4 questions out of 6 questions. For that, you have to read all 6 questions. Right? So it will take some time. Right? So definitely you will be spend 20 minutes for that to select the question by reading. Right? Right? So you are only having 20 minutes to approach one question. So therefore stick with that 20 minutes. Right? When you're writing the exam. Right? Right? bring your, what you call the watch or anything, right? So you can mark your time, right? Stick with the 20 minutes. After spending that 20 minutes, go to next question, even though you are not answered to all the questions in that question number one, let's say. So let's say you are starting with the question number one. So you only answered to third part, only answer first and second part. Third part still left. The 20 minutes gone, right? So better to shift to the other question, right? So then if the time, there is enough time, then come back to the question again and you can write, right? So that is how it goes, right? That is how it goes, right? All right. So any questions regarding that? Yes, any question regarding that? No, nothing. Everything is okay. Guys, there are, I think, more than 100 people joining with the session. Yes. Any question? Anyone is having any question?
No, sir.
Yes, others? No. Right. So that's your paper structure. That's what you are getting in the examination, right? Right. So I'm moving with the question number one first, right? So this is come up with the same format actually when you are preparing the question paper, right? I'm following a kind of a format, right? So I'm starting with the corporate governance introduction, which we have discussed. Then I'm moving towards to the other topics, right? There is a kind of arrangement, order, right? And then I will go to the ethics. Then I will discuss about the risk management. When it comes to risk management also, I will discuss the introductory part first. Then I have discussed the, in the class, I have discussed the, what do you call the operational risk, right? And the risk management process, right? Likewise, there will be order in the paper as well, right? For your easiness, right? So now you know what is the structure you are getting in the paper. This order is, when you are doing, if you are done any past paper, you can understand this order. That same order I'm maintaining in every paper, right? Because this is a kind of a university exam, but through that we are trying to build the professionals. That is the expectation, right? So we are maintaining the same order, right? So question number one is coming through the governance, corporate governance. And when it comes to corporate governance, we are discussing about the governance failures. We are discussing about the rule-based approach, principle-based approach in the introductory part, right? So the same type of format will be maintained in your paper as well. So that is a kind of hint I can give you, right? I would not say the same type of question we are getting, but same type of format, same type of concepts, like same types of order will be maintained, right? Question number one, I will just go with the question number one. Greenway Logistics, a well-established company specializing in eco-friendly transportation solutions, has recently come under scrutiny due to a series of governance failures. Right? So this is a kind of a logistic company. So now you are having a logistic company, right? Right. And also they are looking at the eco-friendly transportation. That's also very important. So these things you have to highlight. The nature of the business you need to highlight. Has recently come under scrutiny due to series of governance failure. So now they are having a serious problem, right? The main reason for this problem is they are highlighting that the governance failures they are having. The company's rapidly expansion into a new market lead to significant operation risks that were not adequately managed. The one concerns they are having is, one is corporate governance failure there. And also, since this company is going to expansion, right? Going to expansion, one of their strategic move, right? Strategic move is expansion, right? Expansion. So for the expansion, they are going for the new markets. So if they are going for the new market, it will generate a kind of a significant operation risk. Inherently, that operation risk can be generated. That is one of the risk. Another risk that were not adequately managed. Right? Every company, when they are moving to a new avenue, there will be a risk. For example, let's say you are going abroad, right? So after finishing of the SAP campus degree, right, you are going to study in Australia, right? So suddenly when you are getting down in the Australia, in the Melbourne airport, right, you feel like there will be a risk, right? Because you are new to this, right? So if you are not managing that risk, right, within 1 week or 2 weeks, you are come back to Sri Lanka, right? So likewise, when it comes to business, when the business is moving towards to a new expansion, new markets, definitely the operational risk and other risk can be there, but you have to manage it. So here, this company is not adequately managed that. So that will be a risk. That will be a kind of a greater risk for this company because they are not managing the risk correctly. In the class, we have discussed that if you are not identifying the risk, that is the biggest risk you are having. If you are not adequately managing the risk, that is the biggest risk you are having. Right? Then several key decisions made by CEO and senior management have been questioned due to a lack of board oversights. Right? So several key decisions have been made by the CEO and the senior management. And this has been questioned by the board because without board oversights, they have made the decisions. Right? The company's financial performance has suffered, resulting in a drop in stock price and shareholders' dissatisfaction. Right? Along with these things, shareholders also dissatisfied because the share prices has been dropped. Financial performance has been suffered. Right? So those are some issues of this company. So many issues has been there, right? Near to the bankruptcy, right? Amal Pereira, a major institutional share investor, right? We learn who are the institutional investors, right? Like Dhammika Pereira, right? They are the institutional investors. They are investing through their institute. For example, Dhammika Pereira buys shares in another company through the Hales, right? So he will become an institutional investor. In Greenway Logistics has raised the concern about the company's governance framework, especially criticizing the principle-based approach the company follows. So Amal Pereira, one of the key stakeholder or the institutional investor, find out the issue for this. This issue is arise because of you are following the principle-based approach. Right? We have discussed in the class, there will be two approaches when we come to the governance, principle-based approach and the rule-based approach, if you can remember. If you can't remember that, you will be definitely fail the exam on 31st. Right? Right? So now you have the idea about the what is the meaning of principle-based approach and the rule-based approach. Then you are looking at them, principle-based approach කියලා එහෙනම් අනිවාර්යෙන් fail වෙනවා පුතා. ඒ නිසා දැන් අද දන්නේ නැත්නම් අද රෑම පාඩම් කරන්න. Right? He argued that the company should adopt more rule-based governance model. Additionally, the board is debating whether introducing independent directors and enhancing transparency through detailed reporting might improve the situation. Right? Right? For this situation, this is the situation the company is having. For that, they are having suggested few options. The Amal Pereira suggested from the principle-based approach, you have to move to the rule-based approach. And also some of the directors are suggesting you need to have more independency within the directors as well as you need to enhance the transparency to improve the situation by detailed reporting. Right? So these are the suggested solutions coming from the management level for these issues. Right? For the first paragraph, they are discussing about the issues. In the second paragraph, they are discussing about the suggested solutions. Right? So now you can have kind of idea. Right? So therefore, in your examination, you need to carefully read these paragraphs and identify what each paragraph is saying. Right? Like I did, you need to highlight in your own way. This is my way. In your own way, you can summarize what it has been discussed, right? It's if you can summarize them at the first instant, that is better. But if you can't, you can read it again. Firstly, you can read first, just read. Then in the second time, you can highlight and read. Right. Right. And best way to approach a question is firstly, you need to read the questions. Right. So I have not done it, but when you're facing the exam, right, that is a trick what you can do. Firstly, before reading the case study, firstly read the requirement or the questions you are getting in the examination. What kind of questions I'm getting, right? What kind of things we need to focus on. So after reading these 3 questions, you know what are the focus points, right? You know what are the focus points. Then once you are reading the question, you can identify, these are my focus points, right? This point is very important for that. So I can highlight it. So before playing in the ground, so you need to know what kind of balls you are receiving from the opponent. Right? First of all, you need to go through with that. Right? So what are the requirements? Let's read. Critically evaluate. Right? Very important. Not evaluate. Critically evaluate. Right? That means what? I'm expecting some of the practical experience, practical examples from you. Critically evaluate the governor's failure at Greenway Logistics and discuss how this failure contributed to the company's recent financial difficulties. Right? First of all, you need to look at what are the governor's failures of the Greenway Logistics and how these are leads to the financial difficulties. What governance mechanism should have been in place to prevent these issues? What kind of a governance mechanism we can have to prevent these issues? Right. So here they are asking your own opinion. If you are a CEO, if you are a owner of this company, what you can do, right? What you can do. Then, right, your own opinion regarding these issues, right? That means only looking at this first paragraph, you need to suggest the solution, right? දැන් මේ පළවෙනි paragraph එක බලලා තමයි පළවෙනි question එකට උත්තර ලියන්න ඕනේ. දැන් පළවෙනි paragraph එක බලලා ඔයා උත්තර ලියද්දි මේ දෙවෙනි paragraph එකේ තියෙන solutions මෙතන ලියන්න බෑ. මෙතන ලියන්න බෑ. මේක ලියන්න ඕන ඔයාගේ own opinion එක. අමල් පෙරලා කියලා තියෙනවා මේ විදිහට. එහෙම ලියන්න බෑ. ඔයා ලියන්න ඕන පළවෙනි paragraph එක තියෙන තමයි issues තියෙන්නේ. ඒතර මේ issues වලට කොහොමද ඔයා address කරන්නේ? ඔයා CEO න, ඔයා management එකේ board එකේ chairman, ඔයා address කරන්න කොහොමද? Right. So that is the requirement. So there will be 2 parts, right? I have awarded 7 marks for this, right? I have awarded 3 marks for this connection. How this governance failures, right? How this governance failures contribute to the financial difficulties. For that, 3 marks. For your own opinion, so this is not coming with the, what do you call the theoretical aspects, right? So you need to think and write the answer. For that, I will award 4 marks. For your own opinion. Right. The second question, Amal Pereira believes that Greenway Logistics should transition from a principle-based approach to a rule-based approach. Amal Pereira is suggesting now the company is following principle-based approach. This is the main reason for this corporate governance failure. So I'm suggesting you better go with the rule-based governance framework. Compare these 2 approaches and discuss whether a rule-based model would better suit the company's needs given its current challenges. Right. So what you have to do? You need to compare these 2 approaches that we have done in the class. So that is directly theoretical thing. Directly coming through the theoretical thing. And discuss whether the rule-based model would better suit the company's needs. Right. So now this is a logistic company. This is a highly their strategic aim is to expansion. So such kind of a company. So I'm asking whether this rule-based model is appropriate. Right. Right. For the comparison, I will award 4 marks, and for this, I will award 4 marks. Right. The final part you have to think and write. Right. So you need to understand the nature of the company, and you need to apply the rule-based approach, and you need to evaluate it, you need to discuss it, whether this rule-based approach is suitable for this company. Right? Suitable for this company. Basically, you need to agree with the Amal Rao, not agree with the Amal Perrao, based on your own opinion. Right? That you have to write. Then third question, explain the importance of the independent directors in the corporate governance. How would the introduction of the independent directors and improve transparency through detailed reporting enhance the accountability and overall governance at Greenway Logistics? Right. So you need to write the importance of the independent directors that is coming through the classroom discussion. It's there in the slides. Importance of having the independent directors. And the next question is how independent directors and improve transparency through the detailed reporting will enhance the overall governance system of the Greenway Logistics. For the independent directors, the importance of the independent directors, I will about 5 marks. And for this, the practical aspects, I will about 5 marks. Right? Altogether, you are receiving 10 marks. So if you are writing the correct answers, you are receiving 25 marks for this question. Right? Right. So now I think you are having the idea what kind of expectation I'm having through this question. Actually, this is not my expectation. This is how the question will be asked in the examination. Right? Any questions? Any questions? Yes. So you have to talk, huh? Otherwise, I will stop, and because this is a kind of a free of charge session. Right? I'm not charging any rupee for this session. Right? Yes. Any questions? Everything is okay?
Yes, sir. Yeah, okay.
Others? Yes. So we are having 120 students joining with the session. Yes. Any questions? Any
Sir,
doubts? Yeah.
so with regard to the second question, where the transition from a principles-based to a rules-based governance framework,
Yeah.
when we compare the approaches, are we supposed to, in general, so because they're using like a principles-based approach, if I'm right in the question, are we
Yeah.
supposed to highlight the advantages and disadvantages of that? Or
Yeah. The comparison is that, right? So you need to highlight the advantages and the disadvantages. For example, when it's come to the principle-based approach, sometimes the advantage may be disadvantage of the rule-based approach. Right? So that is the comparison. We have done this in the class, I think. හරිද මම උත්තර දුන්නද ප්‍රශ්නෙට? Yes. Is it okay?
yes, sir.
You're
What
happy with
I'm
that?
asking is, do we have to highlight the advantages of both approaches, or is there no specific rule?
The comparison means you have to compare, right? So when you are comparing that, because these two approaches are two different approaches, no? So we can't apply these two approaches in a parallel basis. So if you are going with the principle-based approach, you have to go with the principle-based approach. If you are going with the rule-based approach, you have to go with the rule-based approach. So therefore, you have to compare the benefits or the advantages of principle-based approach. These are the principle-based approach benefits, right? First of all, you need to write what is the meaning of principle-based approach, and these are the kind of characteristics of principle-based approach. And next, you need to write the characteristics of the rule-based approach. That is the comparison.
Right, sir. Okay.
Right? Any other questions? Right. Try to kind of write some answers for these three questions, right? Like not a kind of a big answer, just write some points for these three questions. Then I will discuss. I will give you 5 minutes. Right. So first question is, right, critically evaluate the governance failures at Greenway Logistic and discuss how these failures contribute to the company's recent financial issues. Right. Right. So what is the first issue they are having? Right. What is the first issue they are having? Yes, Prakash. What is the first issue they are having? Yes. What are they going to be the issues?
Lack of board oversight.
Uh, no, I'm asking what kind of issues they are having. The main issue is they are going to a new market, rapid expansion, right? And they are facing significant operational risks, and they have not adequately managed that. So that is one issue they are having, right? Expansion. Through the expansion, you are having a kind of a operational risk, which is not managed, right? Right. And key decisions of the business, that means like expansion decisions, like strategic decisions, has been made by the top management and the CEO without the board oversights, without the consent of the board, basically. CEO and top management make strategic decisions without, let's say, consent of the board oversights. Right. 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 So those are the two main issues that company is facing, right? Two main issues the company is facing. One is expansion. They are going for the expansion. Because of the expansion, they are having the operational risk, but they have not managed the operational risk correctly. And the CEO and the top level management making strategic decisions without the consent of the board, right? So those are the two main governance failures, right? And because of these governance failures, right, you are having the recent financial difficulties. For example, if you are not managing the operational risk correctly, it will impact to your company's operations, or it will impact to the profit, right? It will impact to profit at the uh, in the last, when you are looking at the final outcome, it will impact to the profit if you are not manage the operational risk correctly. And if you are taking the strategic decisions without oversights of the board, without the consent of the board, sometimes your decisions, though your strategic decisions, are not go in line with the company's mission, right? And also, if the board is not approving these, what you call, decisions, there will be creating some sort of big governance concerns for the company. It will create some doubt, right, regarding the company when you're looking at the shareholders' confidence. Right? Shareholders are not confident about the company because they know the CEO and the top management take decisions without the consent of the board. Right? So such kind of situation may create companies to have some financial difficulties. Right? So you need to build that question, that answer in that way. Right? So those are the two issues you are having. Right? So then, second question, they are asking what governance mechanism should have been in place to prevent these issues. So you are having two issues. Right? What kind of a governance mechanisms we have discussed? Right? Few governance mechanisms. What kind of things we can have? Yes, what are the solutions we can provide? Solutions for these failures? for these risks? Yes, what are the solutions? What are the solutions? Yes, anyone? What are the solutions then? Alama, you have to talk. If you are not talking, I will stop at this point. Yes, what are the solutions? Come on. Prakash, what are the solutions?
We can create a risk management framework.
Yeah. Correct. Right. One is you can have a kind of a risk management process or risk management framework, right? ERM. Enterprise risk management framework you can build, right? You need to write what you are going to do, right? So this is the solution you need to write, right? When you're writing the answer. Then you need to have effective board oversights, because when you're looking at this, in this company, the CEO is actually ruling the company. That means there's no effective board oversight. So you need to, as a solution, you need to establish the effective board oversight. When you're taking the strategic decision regarding the company, definitely the oversights of the board should be there. Effective board oversight should be there, right? And also, we can have independent directors, right? Independent directors. Like once independent directors have been introduced, if the independent directors are involved with the decision making, what will happen? Shareholders' viewpoints or the stakeholders' viewpoints. Right? There will be a kind of a why we need to have a corporate governance, because we need to manage the agency problem, right? So while we are having the independent directors, we can manage that agency problem we can manage for somewhat with the independent directors. So one is independent director. One solution is independent director. Effective board oversights, ERM, independent directors. Yes. And also, we can enhance the transparency and the accountability, right? Transparency and the accountability, right? Transparency and the accountability, right? Because now the stakeholders are dissatisfied because the share price goes down, right? So what you can do is you can reveal everything to the shareholders, right? This is what is happening, right? So we need to correct this one. So we need your help, transparency and accountability. You need to answer what you are, like, you are collecting funds from the shareholders, and you need to answerable what you have done for these funds, right? So transparency and accountability should be there. So that those are some solutions for these issues to prevent these issues, right? Actually prevent these issues. So you need to have a good ERM framework, effective board oversights. You can have independent directors. You can have a transparency and accountability among the financial reporting, right? So those are some solutions to prevent these two issues mentioned in this case study, right? Mentioned in this case study. Right? So now it is very clear, right? First of all, you have highlighted when it comes to this question, there will be two parts, right? So actually the purpose of this program is not to write the answers, but to provide insight how you need to write answer. Right? So here there are two types, two questions, right? One is you need to identify the issues. The other one is you need to provide the solutions. So if you write this in a kind of a good way, then examiner also having a kind of a easiness to mark the exam paper, right? අනික් එක තමයි ඔයගොල්ලෝ exam එකේ paper එකට ලියද්දී right පුළුවන් තරම් try කරන්න පිළිවෙලට ප්‍රශ්න ලියන්න උත්තර. right ලස්සනට ලියන්න. ලස්සන කියන්නේ ලස්සන අත්අකුරෙන් ලියන්න කියලා නෙමෙයි. පිළිවෙලකට ලියන්න. right සමහර ගත්තාම සමහර papers ගත්තාම පළවෙනි ප්‍රශ්නේ පළවෙනි කැලල ලියලා තියෙන පළවෙනි පිටුවේ. දෙවෙනි කැලල ලියලා තියෙනවා right ප්‍රශ්න පහකට විතර පස්සේ. right එතකොට ඒ examine එකේ impression එක වෙනස් වෙනවා. mindset එක වෙනස් වෙනවා එතන. ඒතර paper එක බලන්නේ mindset එක. right? ඒතර මේ first impression එකත් හොඳට දෙන්න. මෙයා ලස්සන පිළිවෙලට මේක ලියලා තියෙනවා. හරියට ප්‍රශ්න තේරුම් ගන්න තියෙනවා. At least he understand that you have understand the question correctly. So you have understand there are two parts in this question. Right? So you have highlighted that two parts in very clear manner. Then he feel good. Right? Not only this subject, but also for other subjects as well. So those are the tricks what you can do in the examination. Knowledge is not only sort of factor which decide your examination marks. Knowledge is only one. Other things are tactics you are using in the examination. Right. And then අපි ගත්තොත් දැන් cricket match එක ගත්තොත් කුසල් මෙන්ඩිස් is the most talented player in Sri Lanka now. As you all know, he's actually a talented guy. I personally know him, but he's a very talented. But what he's doing, right? Sometimes he's not use his talent. He's not use his tactics. Even though you are having a knowledge, if you are not using tactics in the exam, you will still fail the exam. You are knowledgeable, but you don't have tactics to write the answers. So these are the tactics you can use. Right? This will matter how you are going to read the question. First of all, you need to read the question, then you can go to the case study, then read the case study and understand what the things are in the case study. Then you have to summarize based on the questions. So then you need to identify the question very carefully, right? If there is a two questions in the one question, you need to separate those two questions and write the answer, right? So those things will matter, right, in the examination. Right. All right. So with that, I'm going to the second question. Right. I think Nishal asked a question regarding the comparison. So let's look at this. Right. Amal Pera believes that Greenway Logistics should transition from the principle-based approach to rule-based approach. Amal Pera, one of the institutional shareholders, is suggesting you should go to the rule-based approach. So what is the difference between the principle-based approach and the rule-based approach? Anyone knows? Anyone can remember? What's the difference? What is the difference between the principle-based approach and the rule-based approach?
In the principle-based approach, there is a flexibility. In rule-based approach, there is no any flexibility.
Okay. Yeah, correct. Right. That's the basic understanding. When it's come to principle-based, in that name you can understand principles. So we can have the principles. Right. For example, you will have some principles. Right. You are working on time. Right. You are studying well. So those are the principles you have. You are honest. You are having a good time management approaches. Right. So those are your principles. So based on that principles, you are working. Right. Right. When it's come to rule based, right? When it's come to rule based in your company, definitely you need to be there on time. That's a rule. Otherwise, they will cut your salary. Right. So when it comes to rule based, the legal aspect is embedded with the rules. If you are not doing the rule, if you are not adhere to the rules, definitely you have to penalize within a legal constraint or any kind of other constraints. Right. So we are having the principles in the principle-based approach. In the rule-based approach, we are having the rules. Rules means definitely it will be embedded with the legal aspects. Right. Right. So what are the differences? How we are going to compare this one? How we are going to compare? To do this comparison. This is not a if it only I'm doing this. Yes. Sorry. So first of all, when you are doing the comparison, first of all, you need to write the definition for those two, right? So as I mentioned correctly, in basic way, the principle-based approach is working with the principles, and rule-based approach is working with the but rules. So then you can have the comparison, right? Right. For the comparison, you can have like here you can have features. Here you have the principle-based approach and the rule-based approach. Right. Right. This is a good way to present. Right. So then the examiner knows what are the feature. Here the principle-based and rule-based. This is the difference. The first feature and the most important feature is the flexibility. 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 So when it comes to flexibility, principle-based approach is flexible or not. It's highly flexible. Highly flexible. Highly flexible. So only principles are there. Anyone can adapt with their own way. Highly flexible. Right? So when it comes to the rule-based approach, the flexibility is very less. Less flexibility. Right? Right? It sometimes we can't adjust with the situation. We have to stick with the rules. For example, let's say once the COVID-19 comes to Sri Lanka, I have told this in the examination, in the what you call the class as well. When the COVID-19 comes to Sri Lanka, one of the rule-based approach the company CSE is following is every company needs to publish their annual report before 3 months. Right? But the COVID-19 came, right? Actually, they can't do this. The companies can't do this. But even though the companies can't do this, they have to maintain that because it's a rule base. The flexibility is there. If the changing nature is happen in the business, still you can't change it because we are following the rule-based approach. Less flexibility, right? It's not suitable for every situation, right? Then when you are looking at the intent, right? Intent, right? Focus on the spirit, right? Your intent is, right? You're looking at the spirit, right? Right. And when it comes to rule based, you are focused on the compliance. Definitely, you need to be comply with the rules. Focus on the compliance. මෙතන බලන්න spirit එක. අපි වෙලාවට වැඩ කරන එක හොඳයි, right? හරියට පාඩම් කරන එක හොඳයි, මගේ spirit එක. Principle based, මගේ principles. හැබැයි rule based approach එක අනිවාර්යෙන්ම comply වෙන්න. Focus on the compliance, whether I'm comply or not. Right? Comply or not. Right? 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 Comply. Then when you're looking at the compliance, right, when it comes to principle-based approach, it is very difficult to look at because we are based on the principle and it is very flexible, right? People are doing whatever they want, right? So when you're looking at the compliance, we are required some judgments to you look at the compliance. Right? අපි බලනවා මේගොල්ලෝ හරියට මේ principle-based approach එක follow කරනවාද කියලා. හැබැයි ඒක අපිට compliance වෙලා තියෙනවද කියන එක බලන්න බෑ. මොකද එක එක්කෙනා ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඕන විදියට තමයි මේක කරගෙන යන්නේ. මොකද principle based approach flexible. Right? එතකොට අපිට judgment එක ඕන වෙනවා. ඒක compliance එක බලන්න. හැබැයි when it comes to rule based approach, right? Very easy to check the compliance. We can do the audit and enforcement. You can look at the compliance. Right? Very easy to look at compliance because there's a rule. What we have to do is we need to check whether these people are go with the rules. right? Right. Right. So when it comes to clarity of the information in the principle-based approach, right? It can be different varieties will be there. The clarity is not there, right? Because different people is probably different principles. Someone is saying it's better to work on time. Someone is saying it's not better to work on time, right? The principles, there's no clarity. But when it comes to rule-based approach, it has clear to the point instructions, right? Clarity is there, right? Clarity is there, right? Right. And when it comes to the risk, right? When it comes to companies, the principle-based approach creates some risk because there will be a higher risk of non-compliance, right? In this case also, there will be a non-compliance because they are following the principle-based approach. The flexibility is there. People do whatever they want based on their principles. The risk is there. The higher non-compliance risk will be there, right? Higher non-compliance risk will be there. And when it comes to rule-based approach, right? When it comes to rule-based approach, what we are doing is they are saying this and we are doing this, like box ticking approach. These are the things we have to do. We will do this. Other than that, we are not doing anything. Box ticking approach. In the rule-based approach. Right? So those are the risks in both the approaches. In the principle-based approach, definitely higher risk to the non-compliance. In the rule-based approach, so we are going only with the box ticking mentality, right? Box ticking mentality. So therefore, we are not thinking about the companies. We are not thinking about the volatility of the business world. If there is something happen, we are not looking at that. Let's say COVID-19 came, right? Once the COVID-19 came, we are only doing the box ticking, right? So we are not adapting to that volatility in the rule-based approach, right? In the rule-based approach, right? In the rule-based approach, right? So this is the answer for the first question in this question, right? Right. Compare the two approaches. And then, as Amal Pera said, you have to discuss whether this rule-based approach is suitable for this company, right? You need to discuss, right? You need to discuss, right? Right? What is your idea? Is it suitable to this company? What is your idea? So when it comes to this company, they are facing challenges, right? They are having the operational risk because they are logistic company. They have to do the operations, right? They need to maintain a timely delivery. They need to handle the goods, likewise. And sometimes regulatory complexity will be there. Some rules and regulations will be there in different regions. For example, they are going for the other countries as well, no? So there will be some regulations will be there, right? So if you are not done the transportation thing correctly, there will be some reputational damage. So there will be some issues. There will be some current challenges this company is having, right? Right. So when you are going with the principle-based approach, that means more flexibility is there. So sometimes these challenges we can't approach. For example, the timely delivery. So if the flexibility approach is there, the principle-based approach is there, sometimes you can't achieve this challenge, right? Right. So therefore, when you're looking at this company, right, right, in my point of view, I think the rule-based approach is most appropriate, more appropriate, right? But you can argue other way also, right? If you can argue other way, you need to have facts, right? With your argument, I will give the marks, right? Because that is a kind of a personal opinion, right? With the facts, right? So most appropriate answer is better to go with the rule-based approach because this company is having some challenges which should be going with the rule-based approach. If you are going with the principle-based approach with the flexibility, sometimes you can't address these challenges, right? Right. So that should be the answer, right? Right. Any questions up to now? I'm only discussing this question detail. Other questions I will go very fast. Just to give you the understanding how you're going to approach a question. Right? Yes, everything is clear. Yes, guys.
Yes, sir.
Right. Then the question number 3, the importance of independent directors in corporate governance. That is straightforward question. You all know I'm not going to discuss. Right. The importance of independent directors. It's there in the what do you call lecture notes as well. Right. And how could the introduction of independent directors and improve transparency through detailed reporting enhance the accountability and overall governance at Greenway Logistics? Right. So that you can answer. I think I'm not going to give the answers or discuss the answers for that. Right. However, I will give the what do you call the sample answer for all these past papers. Right. So before going for the examination, just look at those answers and go. Sometimes they will be help for you. Right. Right. In the question number 2, actually in this paper, the question number 2 is come up without a case study. But in your examination, in your paper, you are having all the questions you are having the case studies, right? Right. So in question number 2, it's straight to the theoretical aspect. Discuss the concept of the agency problem. Provide an example to demonstrate how conflict of interest might occur between the principal and agent. It is very easy, right? Agency problem එක කියන්නේ මොකක්ද කොහොමද ඒක ඇති වෙන්නේ කියලා example එකකින් කියන්න principal agent අතර, right? මේක ටිකක් simple question එකක්, right? In brief explanation, the role of audit directors in a company and identify the moral attributes directors should possess to fulfill their responsibility. This also there in your tute, right? If you can remember, right? What kind of attributes the director should be have, what kind of a role the director is performing, right? Explain the benefits of board diversity. So we have discussed about the board diversity, right? There are different diversities are there, right? Age diversity, right? Gender diversity is the most discussed point, right? Educational diversity, right? So because diversity is very important, right? Explain the benefits of board diversity, right? That's also we have discussed. Identify 3 safeguards that can be put in place to ensure that non-executive directors remain independent, right? So your non-executive director should be independent, right? What kind of a mechanisms, what kind of safeguards you can have to create them independent, right? Non-executive directors like independent directors අපි non-executive ගන්න. ඒතර ඒගොල්ලෝ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට අපි dependent කට්ටියත් ගන්න හැබැයි non-executive directors ගොඩක් වෙලාවට independent. ඒතකොට ඒ independent directors ලා independent කියන concept එක safeguard කරන්න මොනවද කරන්න පුළුවන් දේවල් කියලා තමයි අහන්නේ. right? මොන වගේ mechanisms කරන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා. Right? That is a kind of a practical question. So what are the mechanisms we can put in place to ensure that non-executive directors are independent? Yes. Yes, guys. අයියෝ ඔයගොල්ලෝ කතා කරන්නේ නැණේ. Huh? Guys, we have to talk. Can you guys hear me? Huh? මම ඇහෙනව නේද?
Yes, sir.
Then why you are not talking?
Ensure there are no cross directorships.
Yeah. Very good. That is one. We can limit the tenure, right? For example, let's say every director needs to renew their tenure in every 3 years time. Likewise, you can have a limited tenure, right? Right. So when it comes to business, make sure that your director and non-executive director is not having any kind of a financial or business relationships with the business, right? Right. Right. And also sometimes most of the companies, what they are doing is they are arranging separate meetings to the non-executive independent directors to make sure that the independence is not there. Like for example, if we are looking at the board of directors meeting, there are executive directors and non-executive directors are there, right? So they are discussing, right? So sometimes non-executive directors needs to discuss some sort of secret points, like independent points. So they are therefore some companies arranging special non-executive directors meeting to keep the independence, right? Right. And as Nishal correctly mentioned, the cross directorship also correct. So those are some safeguards, right? Right. You need to think and write. Right. So I'm just going through with the then the committees, right? So after discussing about the diversity and the director's role, then discuss about nomination committee, audit committee, and remuneration committee. We can have committees, right, in the corporate governance, right? And then we are moving to the ethical responsibilities, right, of the financial controller, right? So actually we have discussed this question in the class, right? Same type of question we have discussed. The same question I have put into the exam as well in that time, right? Not this time. මේ පාර දැම්මේ නැහැ. මම දන්නේ නැහැ දැම්මද කියලා. right? ගිය පාර දාලා තියෙනවා. ගිය ක්ලාස් එකේ ඩිස්කස් කරපු එක මම වෙනස් කරලා පොඩ්ඩක් දාලා තියෙනවා. right? අපි මේක ඩිස්කස් කරා. අපි ethics ගැන කතා කරලා. right? මෙතනදී මගෙන් ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහලා තිබ්බා ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ යාළුවෙක් right.
සම්පූර්ණ දාන්නත් එපා කිව්වා.
හරිද? දාන්න එපා කිව්වා දාන්න දැන්. හරි. එක ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහලා තිබ්බා ඉන්නවා කියනවා. ඩවුට් එකක් තිබ්බා. right. මේකෙදි සමහරවිට ඔයගොල්ලන් අහන්න පුළුවන් principles අපේ fundamental principles අපි discuss කරන්නේ පහ. right. එතකොට fundamental principles ගැන අහන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ fundamental principles අහලා right. ඒ fundamental principles වලින් මොනවද breach වෙලා තියෙන්නේ කියලා අහන්න පුළුවන්. right. එතකොට මේ fundamental principles breach වෙලා තියෙන්නේ මොනවද කියලා අහද්දී අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ඔයගොල්ලෝ right ලියන්න ඕන. threats ටික මොනවද threats self review threats right family threats right? ඒ වගේම තමයි අර fundamental principles breach වෙන්නේ. Right? So in your question, sometimes the first question will be asked, what are the fundamental principles of ethics? So then with the situation given, what kind of issues arise? So then you have to write the threads. Sometimes it will not directly ask. So what you have to do is you need to write the threads. Right? So then when you are addressing the threads, right? When you are addressing the thread, that you need to go with that framework we have discussed. Address the threads, right? First of all, identify the threads, then use the conceptual framework, then you have to use the what you can do is you can firstly discuss with the management, right? If the management is not agree, then you can discuss with the other bodies, board of directors, right? If they don't agree with you, then you have to resign. So likewise, you need to provide the answer, right? So mainly when it comes to ethics, this is the common question that we can ask: the principles, what are the issues, and how you are going to solve it. What is your action, basically, right? So that is the kind of question you are getting in the ethics. Right. Then the next question is, next common question you are getting in. So this ERM question also, the Duco cake, we have discussed in the class, right? So next,
Excuse me,
the
sir.
common question you are facing is when you are discussing about the mitigation strategies, right? And the risk responses, right? So these are two different things. So in your examination, if I'm asking the risk mitigation strategies, right? Risk mitigation strategies, right? So you have to write the mitigation strategies. What kind of things we can do to mitigate this risk? But when I'm asking the risk responses, right? So you have to write the strategies which mitigate the risk as well as manage the risk, right? Right, I will repeat it again. If I'm asking the risk mitigation strategies, definitely you have to write the strategies to mitigate the risk, right? For a certain level, for an acceptable level. Mitigation means we can fully mitigate. For acceptable level, we can mitigate, right? When it comes to risk responses, so risk responses are more towards the futuristic risk, right? But when it comes to risk mitigation, it's a current day risk. Now the risk is happened. Now we are going to mitigate that, or now we are going to respond to that. But when it comes to risk responses, they are futuristic risk. Actually, this is not happen, but future, we believe that this kind of risk will be coming up. For that risk, we are writing the risk response. Right? Understood? Yes? Understood?
Yes,
And
sir.
also when you're writing a risk responses and risk mitigation approaches, so better to use the TARA framework, the likelihood and the impact. Right? TARA framework. So other than the TARA framework, if you're having any kind of a practical examples and practical answers, so you can write. If it is suitable enough, then you got the right, you got the marks. So better to go with the TARA framework because TARA framework is the acceptable framework, right? Other than the transferring, reduction, mitigation, or what you call the transferring, mitigation, avoidance, right? Other than that, if you have any kind of strategies, that also you can write. It doesn't matter if it is rationalized.
So,
Yeah.
so for example, if you take something like competition, the
Yeah.
likelihood is also high and
Yeah, go ahead.
probability is also high. So
Mm.
then the response, I mean, according to the TARA framework, would be to avoid it, but it's not
Yeah.
possible to avoid it, right? So then
Yeah.
what should be?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when it's come to sometimes, for example, yeah, that's a good point, right? So let's say we are having a kind of a risk, which is the impact is very high and the likelihood also very high, right? So according to the theory, right, what you have to do is you need to avoid it, right? So just assuming you are having a business, right? You are doing a business, right? So you are going to do a expansion, right? If you are not done this expansion, right? So you can't continue your business. Right? The one of the key aspect of your business is to expand your business. Otherwise, you can't continue it. Right? So you have to definitely take that decision. Right? So when you are looking at the TARA framework, so now if you are doing the expansion, the risk is high and probability is also high. Right? But you have to take that decision. Right? But you have to take that decision, that expansion decision. Right? So when you apply into the TARA framework, you have to avoid it. That's a basic principle. Right? So sometimes that may be correct because if you are expanding your business, right, you have to incur so much of cost, right? But if you avoid it, that cost may be minimal, even though your business will not be low, not continue for a long period of time, but your cost may be lower. But when you're going for that, the cost may be high. So sometimes the avoidance can be a good solution. So if you are not agree with this, some kind of a practical situation, you can't avoid in the such situations. So what you can do, right, is you can go with the reduction or the reduction strategies. Try to reduce as much as you can that risk. You can rationalize it. That's okay. Right? This is theory. Right? So if you can't apply the theory in a kind of a situation, so you can rationalize with the with your understanding. That's okay. That's totally okay. Am I answered to your question? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes or no? You are having doubt?
Yes. Yeah, it's clear.
All right. Yes. Any other questions you are having?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
The same question what she asked previously.
Mm.
Now, if we take this Greenway Logistics case, they have
Mhm.
already expanded into a new market.
Yeah.
And so in that case, if the TARA framework says to avoid it, but we can't avoid it since they have already taken that risk,
Yeah.
then we can just ignore the TARA framework and just give the mitigation strategies. Is that okay?
Yeah. Yeah. That's totally okay because in the practical sense, we can't avoid. No, already we have taken that decision. Right. So next step is we need to provide the risk mitigation strategies for that or risk reduction strategies for that because already we have taken that decision. Right. ඒක නිකන් හරියට උදාහරණයක් විදිහට ඕගොල්ලෝ මැරි කරලා තියෙනවා කසාද බැඳලා තියෙනවා ඊට පස්සේ කසාද බැඳලා පස්සේ තේරෙනවා මේක හරි අමාරුයි කියලා. දැන් කරන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. බැඳලානේ තියෙන්නේ. ඒතර මොකද කරන්නේ? පුළුවන් තරම් මේ රිස්ක් එක අඩු කරගෙන ජීවත් වෙන්න තමයි බලන්න. අන්න ඒ වගේ. ඒක තාරා ෆ්‍රේම්වර්ක් එක හැම වෙලෙම ඇප්ලයි කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. තාරා ෆ්‍රේම්වර්ක් එක පුතා තියරි එක. Right? That is a theory. Right? So normally what we are applying the TARA framework for the futuristic risk. Right? So if you have taken that decision already, right? So what you can do is definitely if you can't avoid it, so better to go with the other strategies. It's okay.
So, sir, every time that we talk about a response, it's not mandatory to talk about the TARA framework, right?
No,
That's
no.
what you meant.
It's not mandatory to discuss about the TARA framework. It's just the theory to help
So
you.
what about when you ask questions about the likelihood and the impact? I think there were some questions in your model paper. So then we should apply it, right?
Yes, correct.
Right. Okay.
Then it's go with the theory, no? Then impact and the likelihood, when we are discussing the impact and the likelihood, definitely it will go with the theory, right? Because in the theory, impact and likelihood is high, then you need to avoid. So if that mentioned, you have to go with that. If the case study is there, then practical answer is expected. So you can ignore the, I mean, I don't mean that you have to ignore. Just ignore the theoretical aspects and you can write your own practical way. That's totally. But if I'm specifically asking about the TARA framework, don't ignore the TARA framework and write your own answer. As you mentioned, if I'm asking about the impact and likelihood, definitely you have to go with the TARA framework. TARA framework කිව්වනේ TARA framework ignore කරලා කියන්න කියලා. එළ වෙන එකක් ලියන්න බෑ. TARA framework ඇහුවොත් you have to write the theory. But if there's any kind of issues I have raised, so base is the Tara framework. If it is not applicable, then you can write your own idea, your own answer, ignoring the Tara framework. That's totally okay if you can rationalize. Have I answered? Yes, guys.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Right. So that's what we have to discuss actually. I'm not going to discuss all the questions, right? It's no point of discussing all the questions. So I have already shared 2 past papers. For those 2 past papers, I will share the answers with you. Most probably tomorrow. And yeah, any other questions you guys are having? Let's have a kind of a Q&A. Right? You are having any
So
questions?
also with regard to ethical responsibilities, when you say ethical responsibilities or ethical issues,
Yeah.
do you want us to speak about the fundamental principles or the threats?
So ethical responsibility means definitely the fundamental principles. You are responsible for protect the fundamental principles, right? That is your ethical principle, ethical responsibility. So therefore, you have to discuss about the fundamental principles. So if I'm asking about the breaching of ethical principles or the ethical responsibilities, then you have to write the threats, right?
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Any other questions? Guys, any questions you are having? So I'm open to questions. Yes, you can ask questions. Nothing to ask. Everything is okay.
So what do you mean by key risk indicators?
What?
Key risk indicators.
Key risk indicators.
Yeah.
Key risk indicators means kind of indicators that risk is generating. Like basically, I'm asking what are the risks? Key risk indicators means what are the risks, the futuristic risk you are having. So if you can remember that when you are discussing about JKH annual report, they have highlighted what are the risk and risk responses. No, so those risk are the risk indicators. That means the futuristic risk. Risk indicators means future risk, like red flags. Indicators.
Okay, sir.
So you need to write the future risk. If I'm asking the indicators, because it's not happened now, but in future it can be come up as an indicator. So you need to write it as an indicator today. Only one person is asking questions. Others, everything is perfect. Let's see in the examination, right? All right. If you don't have any questions, so let's wind up the session. Yeah. If you have any questions, you can ask. I will give you 2 to 3 minutes. Prakash, everything is okay on behalf of the what do you call batch? Any questions? So I'm asking Prakash because he's the actually contact with me on behalf of the they call your group and Shironi on the other group. Yes, any questions, Shironi? No?
No, sir. Okay.
Everything is okay. Shironi, nothing is coming through your group, your batch. Is there? No. All right then. So let's wind up the session. So I will. Yeah.
Can you tell that is there any questions about corporate governance codes?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Can you tell us that is there any question about corporate governance code?
Corporate governance codes.
Yes.
No, we have not discussed the corporate governance codes. No. So basically, we have discussed only the kind of what we have discussed is the basic corporate governance principles and the committees. Likewise, those things. No, we have discussed. We have not discussed about the codes. We are not going that much detail. Right. So basically, you don't want to look at that book. That's what you asked it, no? You don't want to look at that seriously.
I mean that international corporate governance codes.
The international corporate governance codes.
Yes.
The different types of international corporate governance. Yes, there will be some questions that we have discussed too. If we have discussed something, it will be there in the examination. I can't tell this one is coming, this one is not coming, right? ඊට වඩා හොඳයි මම exam paper එක දෙන්න පුළුවන් මට. එහෙනම් ගන්න පොක්කගෙම එනවා. එහෙනම් ඔක්කොම පාඩම් කරලා යන්න. Right.
Excuse sir.
Yes.
Sir, medical exam එකට same structure the same.
They have not asked the separate paper. I think the same paper will be there. I will check with the Jennifer, right?
Okay.
ඔයා පුතා මට පොඩ්ඩක් කෝල් එකක් දෙන්න මම ජෙනිෆර්ත් එක්ක හෙට චෙක් කරලා ඔයාලට කියන්න හරියට. separate paper එකක් දෙන්න කියලා.
Thank you.
ඔයාලට pass papers ටික හම්බුණා නේද? medical student. Yes. ඔයාලට pass papers හම්බුණා නේද පුතා? Yes, any other questions?
ආන්සර්ස් ටික අද ෂෙයා කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් හොඳයි සර්. හෙට දවසේ ස්ටඩි කරන්න පුළුවන් නිසා.
ආන්සර්ස් ටික දාන්න. අද try එකක් දෙන්න අහන්නේ. අද මට අපෝ lecture එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා මම බලන්න try එකක් දෙන්න. Try my best. Yes.
Risk mitigation strategy එක පොඩ්ඩක් explain කරන්න sir.
Risk mitigation strategy.
Yes.
Risk mitigation strategy එක දැන් අපි ගත්තොත් එහෙම අපි ඉගෙන ගත්ත risk mitigate කරන්න බෑ කියලා අපිට fully mitigate කරන්න බෑ. හැබැයි අපිට mitigate කරන්න පුළුවන් acceptable level එකකට. right? අපි එහෙම acceptable level එකකට mitigate කරේ නැත්නම් අපි කියන manage කරේ නැත්නම් right company එකට continue වෙන්න බෑ. හරිද? එතකොට ඔයාගෙන් exam එකේ risk mitigation strategy එකක් ඇහුවොත් right ඒ අහන්නේ current තියෙන risk එකක් සම්බන්ධව. right? If examiner is asking a risk mitigation strategy, right? So he is asking about the current risk. If he is asking a risk response, it's a futuristic risk, right? So risk mitigation strategy, you have to write for the current risk, right? Then the risk එකට තමයි risk mitigation strategy එක ලියන්නේ. මේ ඉතින්කො company එකට තියෙන expansion එක නිසා operation risk එක. ඒතර ඒ operation risk එක නැති කරගන්න නැත්නම් අවම කරගන්නේ mitigate කරගන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා ලියන්න ඕනේ risk strategy. right. එතකොට ඒක risk response එකක් වෙන්නේ ඔයා හිතන අනාගතේ ඔයා හිතනවා ඔයාට operation risk එකක් එනවා කියලා. එතකොට මේ risk එකට මුහුණ දෙන්න ඔයා මොකද්ද කරන්න පුළුවන්? That is risk response. It is not the mitigation strategy. It's a risk response. Right. Clear?
Yes. Okay.
හරිද? ප්‍රශ්න ඉවරයි. All right. You don't have any questions, so let's wind up the session for today. Actually, this is the last day, right? I hope, yeah, I hope everyone will do their best in the examination, right? Hope everyone can get a pass, right? Study well, study the things which I have given, do the past papers, right? And use with the questions, right? Think about your time, right? When you are writing the past papers. So think about the time and write the past paper. So if you are able to do it, so you can arrange the 3-hour time slot and you can write the past paper and see whether you can write the answers for at that given time. So practice with that, study well, and I think everyone can get a pass for the subject, right? So wish you all the very best for your examination. So I hope I can meet you on the convocation in this year or in the next year, right? So I will be there in the convocation in SAP campus, right? So I think I can meet you on the SAP campus, and also I hope one of you can get the what do you call that, gold medal for the subject as well, right? So with that expectation, so I'm happy to have you guys, right? You guys are very good, right? So when you come to presentations also, you are done well. So I hope everyone will get a pass, right? Okay, thank you very much for the support and all the very best for the examination. And have a good day, good night.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir. Good night. Thank you, sir. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Good night. Thank you, sir. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Good night.